Two-time heavyweight world champion.
Ooh,
Sounds good,
nice,
doesn't it?
The two-time world champion, Joseph Parker. That sounds really nice. Winning it, the thought of winning it, I could just imagine it looks really good. Yeah!
We've seen a glimpse of it today, what you've been up to. Camp is looking good, you're looking good. Mentality, going into a big fight, a lot of pressure on it, but feeling in the right headspace at the moment?
I feel like I'm in the right headspace because I've been doing a lot of work before this camp started. And when you're in camp and you see improvements and you see like with each workout its purpose, and you can see leaps and bounds of what you're achieving in workouts, it gives you the confidence. And I know there's a lot of pressure going into a big fight. I think pressure is only put on yourself if you're worried or if you haven't done the work. But I've been doing the work and I love it, enjoy it, and by the time fight time comes, I'll be ready.
Well, before we get properly stuck into it, I want to talk about that face-off because it's only just come out, and it was an interesting watch. You know, Daniel Dubois has found his confidence. He was telling you to shut up and refused the handshake at the end. How did that all sit with you?
For me, it's just that's just who he is, and you've seen, like I can see, and I think everyone else can see the confidence that is steaming out of him because of the wins that he's had and in the fashion that he's won. And just being there in the face of, I could feel his energy. He's all about just fighting. He's a man of few words, and so is myself. So it's quite hard to be around a table and try and forcefully say things when it's not really our type of thing to do.
Talking about the fact that you don't say much and he doesn't say much, you've never been one to trash talk. And you always said that came from your mum, right?
Yeah.
She wouldn't let you trash talk.
She just said to me, just be yourself, right? And there are stints where I've tried my best to say things out of the ordinary, but it just doesn't fit and it doesn't suit and it doesn't seem real. So it's just like, you know what? Just be myself, and I'm just who I am.
Be authentic.
Yeah.
Talking of your mum, actually, I heard a thing before when you said that when you're in, that hole in the gym, when you're working hard, you can almost hear her voice like telling you to get on with it and that you've got to work hard. Where did that kind of come from? Has she always been somebody that's wanted you to put the hard yards in before getting into the ring?
She like boxing. She never really. She loved me doing boxing, but it was more my dad. But then when there was one fight I remember where I went into a fight as an amateur and I got busted up. And after the fight she said to me, if you don't train hard, don't box, right? And ever since then I've always had this like, her voice like, train hard, train hard, train hard. But as time has gone on, like she's sitting there supporting me and my dad, but now it's more so like my kids are like telling me, Dad, work hard, now you can do it. So it's sort of transitioned now like from my mom to my kids and my wife, and but I can always hear that voice in the background when things are getting hard in the gym and times are tough. There are times you're just like tired, but then you can hear voices, or you can sort of reach out to those moments, and that helps you through.
Talking of reaching out and having those people around you, you were just telling me a minute ago the fact that you actually let your family come into camp every now and then, that they were here for, I think it was 4 weeks. Some people completely cut themselves off and some people invite family in. What's your thought process on having them there? My
thought process is that I'm working very hard and I have a plan in place and I'm doing all the work every day, the training, the eating, the resting. And it's nice at the end of the day to get an hour or 2 hours just to visit a family and see them. And it gives me joy, it gives me happiness, and it gives me a sense of being calm in camp. And for me, not seeing them for a long time, I'm here thinking about what are they doing back home. Then I'm video calling every day, and it's never the same as having them here and being able to give them a hug and just say everything's going to be okay, Daddy's good, Daddy's working hard. And it was beautiful. It was just beautiful having my wife and kids here for 4 weeks, and I love having them in camp.
I watched one of your videos on your YouTube channel of you playing football out in the garden.
Oh, yeah.
A few little kicks to the shin, a couple of treading on the toes. I was a little bit nervous watching it, thinking, please don't hurt yourself.
I know, I'm not the best at playing football. I tried for the team back in school and I never made the cut. So as you can see from the video clips, I'm not the best. But it's just nice to have a bit of fun. And you're right, I could have injured myself, but I was very careful that I was kicking with the bigger toe, the stronger toe.
Nice. Look, back to Daniel Dubois. He's obviously been talking a lot about Alexander Usyk, the fact that he wants that fight, but he's got this fight with you first. Do you feel like he's underestimating you or overlooking you at the moment?
You know, you could see it that way, but there are fights like he's probably been told, beat Parker. You know, you got a big fight with Usyk ahead, and for him, he's looking at both fights, and I feel like he's smart enough to know not to overlook the fight that's in front of him. But they always try and set up bigger fights, you know, for the future, and I think it's just part of boxing.
You've had a tendency recently to kind of disrupt all plans that have been in the works. We've seen it with Wilder, you've obviously beaten Zhang as well. Do you like coming in and just disrupting the plan? Is it even sweeter, the victory, when you know that, hey, don't overlook me, don't underestimate me, that I'm up there?
It's a sweet feeling because, like you said, there are plans in place for the bigger fights that are meant to happen, and myself and the team came in and disrupted those plans. And it made it feel that much more sweeter after the fight, you know, beating Wilder. You know, it was just emotional because of the things we went through to get to that point, and also who I was fighting for, what I'm trying to achieve in boxing, and it makes it really, it just makes it that much more, like, I appreciate winning those fights. And it was such a great feeling, you know, disrupting those plans.
Dubois likes to say that you're past your prime. Now, you obviously don't think you are, your form is showing that you aren't, but what do you think the misconception is with you at the moment, when people are saying that you're past your prime? What are they getting wrong? What are they not seeing?
Listen, everyone that's watched me fight has an opinion that I could be past my prime, and there are others saying that I'm just entering my prime. It's taken me, I've been in boxing for 11 years, close to 12 years now, and it's taken me, I haven't had the best performances all the time. There are times where I've been overtrained, and it's no fault of anyone else, just myself pushing myself and trying to smash my body, thinking that's the right way. But I feel like now I've found something good in the team that I have, and I trust what we're doing every day, and I can see, because I can see improvements every day in the gym, it makes me confident in myself. And I feel like I'm not past my prime. I feel like I'm just entering my prime now. And the only thing I want to do in boxing is give the best account of myself in every fight and fight the biggest and best fights out there.
With that, like, coming into prime and making changes, you know, you've made plenty of changes over the years. You've stopped having a McDonald's before a fight, you've stopped the partying, you know, they're all changes you made earlier in your career. But what do you think the biggest change you've made throughout the whole of your career, that you think that was a turning point that you started to really dial in and focus?
You know, like, if I could turn back time, I wish I had the focus I have now earlier on. But if I probably had it then, I probably wouldn't appreciate it as much as I appreciate it now. I think the key and the biggest change would be, I was training with another trainer for 8 years, and I moved to Andy Lee, and we had a great start to the training, but then getting George on board, and I think with Andy and George together and myself, like, we were all working so great together and in sync with everything that we're doing. I think the biggest key would be nutrition, understanding the importance of nutrition and the food that you're eating and the energy that you get from food, and also helps with recovery and sleep. And balance, having the right balance. You know, I used to try and train 3 times a day. Like, the more you train, the better you're going to be, but I think that's old school thinking. It is, you can train hard every day, but you have to have purpose on why you're doing certain things.
Now, I heard when you were younger, you know, with your dad, you'd go down and get tapes of Lennox Lewis, Larry Holmes, Mike Tyson, people like that. Being out in Saudi Arabia at the moment, those people are just walking around. They're at all the events. Have you ever managed to kind of pick one of their brains or get any advice or speak to them about your career?
You know, I've spoken to most of them. But the person, you know, I watched Lennox, I even watched David Tour from outside of the world. I spoke to him many times, but I spoke to Lennox, and Lennox was, it's like, he comes from that, like, Kronk, you know, him and Andy Lee, and they've trained with Emmanuel Stewart, and I think it's just, there's a lot of trainers out there, but not all the trainers are teachers. And I think it must have said it was very important to have someone that can teach you about boxing, and
not just holding the pads.
Yeah, not just hold the pads, but someone who can teach and break things down. I think a lot of trainers train you and hold pads, and they are great at what they're doing, but you need someone who can break things down and tell you why this is happening and why you should be doing this, why you shouldn't be doing this, and I feel like I found that in Andy.
Talking of breaking things down, I heard before the AJ fight, you used to have screens up of him knocking out Klitschko. Do you have anything like that with Dubois going on, or how many times have you watched that knockout of Dubois knocking Anthony Joshua out?
I've watched many fights of Dubois. You know, when I'm running on a treadmill and when I'm doing my work in the gym, when I'm in front of a screen, I put on fights with Dubois, Herkovich, Dubois, Miller, Dubois, Usyk, and Dubois and Joshua. And you know, he's looked very good in all those fights. And you could see, like from those fights, you can just see the confidence in himself and backing himself and believing in himself. And that's what's going to make him more dangerous in this fight, I believe.
Two-time heavyweight world champion.
Oh,
sounds
it's
good,
nice,
doesn't
eh?
it?
Hey, the
What does that
two-time world champion, Lupe Soli Aila Oli Alamale Joseph Parker. That sounds really nice. Just the thought of being able to get close to fighting for the championship of the world, and then winning it. The thought of winning it is just, it looks. I could just imagine it looks really good.
You won it in, was it 2016? You won.
2016. I was 24 years old, very young, and I didn't really have any other goals after that. The goal was just to be champion of the world, and I never really thought about unifications or never really thought about undisputed. Like the unification of Joshua came, and I was like, I wasn't in the best shape, and like I said, if I could turn back time, I'll live the life that I'm living now, living the life of a fighter, eating correctly, resting well, training hard, training right.
That's actually something I was going to talk to you about, is the fact that, you know, other boxers have spoken about it, you've spoken about it before, that when you hit that goal, it's almost like a lull, and you almost feel sad or an element of depression afterwards, because it's what's next, you know. What was your feeling? How did you experience it?
Like, won the championship of the world. I can't really, like so now I'm here at this stage of my life and career, and look back now, I probably was depressed. It probably was like, what's next? And I've already done this. And then I went on I just went on a sort of period where I just went and just enjoyed myself. And, you know, I had fights locked in, but I wasn't really taking them seriously, you know? So throughout my career, there are moments where I haven't really performed the best because I wasn't taking it seriously, you know?
Do you feel like with the first title that you almost won it for other people, not necessarily yourself, for your family?
I wanted to win the championship of the world so bad for New Zealand, Samoa, and for my dad. For my coach, Kevin Barry, he wanted to, you know, have a heavyweight world champion. And I didn't really, I did want to win it myself, but not as much as I wanted to win it for everyone else.
Yeah, you said there about your dad, you know, he wanted to box, but because of his disability, he wasn't able to box. Did you feel almost a pressure to live that dream for him?
No, I didn't feel any pressure to live the dream for him. I wanted to live the dream myself, but I wanted to do it. I wanted to do it for him. Like I wanted to be a fighter, no doubt about that. I wanted to be a boxer my whole life. But then when I was trying to be champion of the world, I really wanted I wanted it for him, like to make him so proud. Him and my mum.
It sounds like now, looking ahead to potentially becoming two-time, that your goals are more your own this time.
Like I want to do this
that?
because I know what I can do in boxing, and I know that I have the potential to be the best in the world, and I haven't really given myself that opportunity to work hard back then. Now I am. Like, I'm giving it everything. I've like 2-3 years left in the sport. I want to give it my absolute best. When I walk away from boxing, I'm like, you know what? I gave it everything I had, and this is what I was able to achieve, and I'm happy.
No regrets.
No regrets.
Also, it's a great time to be at the peak because of all the incentives that are going on with Saudi Arabia. You know, I was looking back at your first professional fight, and I think you said that you got $5,000 or £5,000 as your winnings for that, or your purse for that, and you bought yourself what, a Toyota Corolla?
I bought myself a Toyota Corolla. That was 5,000 New Zealand dollars. Paid the tax, whatever I needed to pay, but then I bought myself a Toyota Corolla, 1996 or 94. Old car. I got it done up as well, but those times are very different, you know. Now I have a better car that lasts a bit longer, but like as the years go on and you fight these fights and you earn this and earn that, there are different moments in life that you can experience just different things, you know. At that time I was buying a car. After that I was paying off the house with the parents, and then looking after myself, my wife and kids.
Yeah. Did you ever get to a point though, even like with the World Championship going to Azerbaijan and only having enough money to send you without a coach or anything, were there points when you were waiting to kind of get that breakthrough that you thought, is this worth it?
I always thought, like, even if it was hard to make the money to pay for these trips, my coach, amateur coach Grant Arkell, paid for the Azerbaijan trip, my parents paid for all these other trips, and people were starting to come in and give a bit of funding to help with all these trips. And even though it was hard to go and represent the country, like funding it yourself or getting others to help you, I never thought that I would never want to do it. Like, I always wanted to do it. And even though it was hard, I loved it. I loved every moment of it. I think that's what made me, like, it makes me now appreciate everything I have, because I'm in a fortunate position where, I'm ranked highly. I got a great training team. I got enough money to pay for a house and training camp and all this. Like, now I love it even more,
That's funny you say that, and it kind of brings me back to that conversation of choice versus sacrifice, because there's obviously a lot of things that you missed births, you missed weddings, you've missed a lot of things. But would you say that that's been a sacrifice, or are you happy with making those choices?
I would have loved to be at every birth. For my children and for my wife, and being there with her by her side. I would have loved to be there at my sister's wedding, my dad's 60th. I would have loved to be there at my mom's birthday and in-law's birthday, But these things, they all understand and they all support me so much that no one gives me any grief. No one gives me grief, no one complains, no one says to me, you should be here, you should be there. Like, I have the most understanding family and friends, if that makes sense. And I did feel bad, but none of them are making me feel bad. They all want me to be the best that I could be.
Well, if you become two-time heavyweight world champion,
yeah!
What does the future look like for you then? You say you've got a couple more years where you want to throw everything into it. When you do eventually hang up those gloves, what would you like to have ticked off?
Just to be the best in the world that I could be, and to give the best account of myself. And be awesome to be two-time world champion. It'd be awesome to fight for the unification, undisputed, and it'd be nice to represent myself and my family in New Zealand, Samoa on the world stage the best I can, and give boxing everything I can, because boxing has been very good to me and my family.
Well, February 22nd, we'll find out, won't we?
We will find out very soon. Time is ticking, countdown has begun.
Yep.
We are nearly there.